2019 GP1800R, getting ready to install a Worx Racing Cooling Kit. So I got two different types of sealant. One is semi-permanent, which is the 4200 from 3M, and then the other one's the higher strength, more permanent 5200. I guess that's what you use for these through hull fittings. Of course, the thread locker. This is what goes on the pump. One thing I noticed is that these are not tapered threads. You can get it to go all the way down, and then it starts to get tight like right about here, and it installs this way, and the line just goes out that way. So, and the same thing with the anode that goes on the motor. It's not tapered threads, it just goes all the way down, and then it starts to get tight like right about here. I'm just going to use the 4200 on these two fittings here and here, just in case I have to pull them back apart. I don't want to maul the threads. Comes with all the hardware you need for this, and of course for the water line. You get started by pulling these bolts off. 4 up top, I guess, is where you start, and this spout line is probably pull that completely off to get the pump out of there. Got a couple bolts down there too as well, and I've already pulled off this piece here, which is for your reverse. So you just push back on it and then it comes right off. Right, so these top bolts up here, those are 12. These are 12 millimeters right here. And then these bottom 4 are all 14s. Right, another thing to take note is there's this right here. It's just tied on by a zip tie. You cut that little zip tie off and take it off, otherwise you're not going to get that pump out of there. It's connected all the way back here and through the hull. Got to disconnect this. It's just a push style, just like the your reverse. And then we got all the bolts off and the bracket. Let's see what else we got in here. That pulled off so you guys can see it. Got the steering out. All right, we're all set. I think it's ready to come out. Okay, one more thing you got to pull, and I didn't mention that, is your ride plate. It's 4 bolts under here, and then you got to pull the speedo right here. I use one of those impacts on there because those are in there really tight. Your normal Phillips screwdriver may not work because of the amount of Loctite they got on there. So I just use a really good screw bit, and then it was able to get it out. So, all right, this is what we're looking at once we get the ride plate off of there. You're gonna have to pry this off, I guess. Well, this whole pump housing, and then once you get that out, then you can get to up in there is where you're going to drill the hole through the hull, and we'll get started on that. Got the pump off. Got a lot of sealer in there, so I just had to pry on these tabs. One right there and one right there. So it's easy to obviously pry on that one first, and it just comes right off. Sealant gives away pretty well, so pretty easily, I mean, so it's not bad. I just gotta pull the pump out, and then I'll have enough room to get down in here to drill through the hull. Got the pump to come loose too. It looks like all the blades are in really good shape, so I don't think I'm gonna change it out to the different prop. I'm just gonna leave it stock and see what kind of mile per hour I get. And if it needs to be changed, I'll probably go with a Solos, maybe a 1318 or a 1320, but I'm gonna try this first. That's what it looks like with the pump out. All right, taking these 2 arms off too. just because they're kind of in the way. They come off pretty easy. They only go on one way. You can see how it's cogged. So go ahead and pull these both off, and give me some more room for drilling. Okay, as you can see, that gives you quite a bit more room to drill out from right here. So there's my fitting. So the fitting, I suppose, goes in this way. So probably like right there maybe. I know it's got to make sure the arms don't get in the way of the tube when it comes out of here into the strainer. So I was doing some pre-fitment testing with the pump housing and the tubing and trying to figure out where I was going to drill this thing through on the back side of the hull here. Came into the anode and wanted to get that out so I could get an idea of how to route it. And take a look at this. I don't know if you can see it from that side. Let's see. There it is. So try to get that out, and it hits the backside of your intake, so you can't get it out of there. So either you pull your intake off, or you grind down that little lip right there. I don't know if the camera will focus on that or not. So I'm gonna take my little Dremel and get in there and try to grind that little lip down, see if I can't get it out of there without having to pull the intake. I got that anode out, ground down that little edge down there. You can see it way down there. Anyway, it's really hard to see, but you can kind of see where I ground it off a little bit. But this is what the anode looks like right here. And so there's a little seal on here you're supposed to take off and put it on this. So it's a little black seal. So it's just on there. So now you're gonna take it off, put it on here, and then from here you gotta put that back in where this was. As you can see, it's just, I don't know what that's made out of, but it must be to keep it from rusting or something, I don't know. But I think the bolt that it came with is a little short, so I'm just going to use a slightly longer one because it has the same amount of thread as this does. Alright, finally got that thing installed. So you guys get an idea of the angle on that thing. It is a really tight fit in there. I was able to get it on. If I can put the camera down in there far enough so you can see how I bolted it down. Anyway, so there's that. And then the cooling line just goes through the bulkhead here. Comes out the other side right there. So this is the other end of the cooling line right here. And then it should go right into the hole right there as soon as I drill the hole. Got the hole drilled for the through hole fitting that I'm about to install. And again, I'm going to use the 5200 for this. I made the hole just a little bit smaller than the actual fitting itself, you know, just kind of so it'll thread itself in there and hold real tight. Without any leaks. I'll show you guys once I get that thing all sealed up and tightened down. All right, so there's the through hole fitting with a bunch of 5200 on there to keep that thing from leaking. I got it tightened down. It's a little bit of a pain unless you have a helping hand, because of course there's a nut on the other side that you gotta tighten down with this sealant on there, and it just spins. So you gotta have somebody holding it with a wrench on the other side. I'll show you how that looks real quick before I connect the water line. Yeah, it looks like a yard sale. There we go. So that's what it looks like with the water line on. A little messy, but at least it won't leak. There you go. So there's my mess. I'm just gonna put a hose clamp on it and we're good to go. Just got all the surfaces clean. Going to reinstall the pump, and I'm just gonna use the 4200 marine sealant on there so it's easier to get off when I go back to maybe change out the impeller. There we are, so finished product there. Got the hose on now and the strainer. So everything's all connected, nothing kinked, nothing in the way. Just gotta put the ride plate back on and it's ready to go. Let me see if you can see in there.